All right.
All right.
Hello. We are back. Welcome to episode 96 of the
Yes.
Opinion City podcast. I'm King Ralph. He's Parmesan. Of course, we are your hosts. And
Yes.
we've got another big one today,
Yep.
Sean.
Yep.
Star of the Wrestle Factory,
Yep.
star of Royalty Wrestling, star
Yep.
of wrestling in general. We are
Yes.
talking to Danny Danger himself, Mr. Danny Rowe, here
Mm-hmm.
on episode 96. And
Right.
Sean, we talk about top fives sometimes, and we talk about, top fives are top fives, but
Right.
this
It's a very
this is
diff-
a top
this-
five that you do not want to miss.
This could very well change the course of Opinion City,
very well
as
could.
we know it. As we know it.
Indeed.
Top 5 things that he hates about pro wrestling. Yeah.
Pro wrestling, I hope you're ready, because the slap is coming. So
The
get
slap
ready.
is coming.
All right. Well, having said that, it looks like it's time to get this party started.
Let's do it.
Episode 96 begins right
now.
All right, we are back, and we did
We
not
are here.
come alone. We brought
No.
a friend.
We brought a friend.
Yes. All right, it is Danny Danger himself. What is
right.
going on? Welcome to Opinion City.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys finally bringing me on.
Man, every
You
time
know.
I see you, shots are fired. About
Shots
that,
are
you know?
fired, man.
Seriously.
All right, I get it. I get
I
it.
mean,
my
Dew said it
students-
best.
Somehow my students are more important. I get it.
Oh,
Dude said it
yeah,
best.
well,
This show is fit for Danny Danger just by the name
That's-
alone, Opinion City.
that's
So
correct.
that is what Deuce said.
He's not wrong. He's not
no, he is not. Well, he's not often wrong.
No.
All right. No. All right. So, let's start from the very beginning. Let's talk a little bit about your career and talk to us a little bit about how everything got started for you.
Well, it's quite a story. Well, like most wrestlers, or at least from my time, we started out backyard wrestling, on the trampoline with Josh. That was a good friend of mine. We've been friends for over 20 years. So Coach
Wow.
Josh and I have been friends
Yeah.
for 20 years. We started out in the backyard together for our TCW Trampoline Championship Wrestling
Yes.
promotion.
Yes.
It was pretty popular on YouTube. We had the advantage of YouTube was just kind of starting. I'm showing
Yeah.
my age here, but YouTube was just kind of starting, and I was like, oh, music videos are cool. So I made like music videos of our little matches or whatever, and we
Mhm.
actually kind of became kind of well known, I guess. So then for my 16th birthday party, we were like, you know what we should do for our WrestleMania? We should find a ring. We should find a ring in the area and see if they'll let us
Yeah.
do like a ring show. So we found Bud Carson's Pro Wrestling World
Yeah.
in the Lehigh Valley there in
Mhm.
Allentown, right next to the Wild Samoans, or at least where they used to be.
Okay.
And we asked him. He said yes. We did our little WrestleMania, and then afterwards he was like, "Hey, we have a training school here if you are interested in signing up." And I immediately, like, there was no question. It was boom. It was right away. Unfortunately, though, they were like, "Well, you're 16." So we don't know if we can do that yet. So they kind of did an under the table kind of training. They weren't.
okay.
They were not supposed
Okay.
to train me, but
Yeah.
they did anyway. And then not shortly long after, it was like, I think I was training for like 4 months, and then Josh eventually took the plunge, and then he started training there as well. So then I trained there. I had my first match when I was 16 in New Jersey for Body Slam Wrestling Organization.
Wow.
And then, and then it just kept kind of going. At 18 for graduation, I was about to graduate high school, and I was like, it'd be really cool if we did a pro wrestling show here
Oh.
at the high school.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that's ever happened. Easton Area High School hosted a pro wrestling show, which was cool. 300 students were there watching me wrestle my trainer at the time, Bill Daly.
Nice.
And then later that summer I wrestled for WWE.
Nice.
At 18 years old, yeah. So that was pretty cool. Very nothing really cool after that. Kind of just coasted. That was it. That's my peak.
That was it. You peaked, and that was it.
Peak.
Dude.
After that, I kind of just coasted for a while, for 4 years, until I was like 22, and I was kind of losing my passion for it, to be honest. And I quit. I retired. And I joined the Army. And there it is. There's the story
Wow.
of Danny Danger.
Wow.
So, where did the name Danny Danger come from? Was it a name that you were given, or was it something that you thought of yourself?
So, I'm going to hate to give him credit, but I'm going to. So Josh, so I had this really terrible name when I was like 13, right? So 13, I was like, I'm Y2D Danico. Dumb Jericho ripoff. I just love Jericho so much. That was
amazing.
And as we started doing this backyard stuff and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, Josh was like, "You can't be Danico. Like that doesn't work. You can't do that." Like still arguing like we do today, you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, "Well, what should my name be?" And he's like, "Well, I have two: Danny Astro or Danny Danger." And I was like, those are both stupid. I hate both of those. And then eventually I came around on Danny Danger, and boom, that was it.
Amazing.
Wow.
Can you imagine though? I mean, think about what other 18-year-olds are doing, when they're 18 and you're wrestling for WWE. That's right. That just blows my mind.
It's very it was a very surreal experience. Even to this day, like when I tell the story to people, it seems like this weird fever dream that happened.
Yeah.
Mostly because I got a concussion.
Oh no!
But it happened. It was awesome. It was one of the best experiences of my life for sure.
So speaking of WWE, you made an appearance in ECW against Ezekiel Jackson, who just recently made his return to the ring. So kind of describe to us what that whole experience was like for you.
It was a shock. I got called by so Richie Rotten was the promoter of Body Slam Wrestling Organization in New Jersey. He got a call from Nunzio.
Wow.
And Nunzio was like, "Hey, do you have any like really small guys that don't look like they eat?" And he was like, "Yeah, I got someone. I got exactly the person." And
what's going on?
It was me.
Good Lord.
And
Yeah.
I was just excited, and I got there, and I'm like, I'm 18. I'm just so like scared the entire time.
Right,
I'm nervous.
right.
Anxiety is through the roof. I'm just like scared, but like everybody there is, at least in my experience, was so welcoming and so awesome. Like Rey Mysterio walked up to me to shake my hand. I didn't walk up to him. Like that kind of stuff. They brought us down to the ring at one point because sometimes they like to go over stuff or whatever. And I was with like Big Show, Crime Time, and like Big Show was such a cool guy, and Crime Time was really cool. And Big Show was like, "What? Calm down over there. I can see how nervous you are. Relax." And he was like, So it was really cool. So then Zeke walked up to me and he's like, "Hey, we're probably just going to start the match. I'm going to clothesline you, and that's going to be the end." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And then Kozlov came up to me and he was like, "I'm going to come out. I'm going to pick you up and slam you." And I was like, "Okay, sweet. Like whatever you tell me, like just whatever."
Right.
So then eventually the announcer walked up to me and he goes, "Hey, what's your name?" And I was like, "Well, like, what name should I get?" Like, I didn't know. And he's like, "Yeah, what's your gimmick name? Come on, kid." And I'm like, "It's Danny Danger." And he's like, "Okay." And he wrote it down. And I don't know how that got past Vince or any, like, I don't know how it got past production, because Danny Danger is very, I don't know, it's like memorable. So anyway, so I get my gear on, and my gear was really like, the shorts and a Danny Danger logo on the side. It was really like, and somebody saw it and was like, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. We got to change this. So before we went out, they bring me to the locker room, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess I screwed up my spot because I don't have good gear, or like plain gear, which you should always have. You should always have plain gear," but I didn't know.
Right.
So they go into the locker room and they're like, "Hey, who here has plain gear?" And I'm like, "Damn, they're going to give my spot away." And the one guy goes, "Oh, I do." And they go, "Oh, good, give it to him." And I was like, damn, that poor guy. So they gave it to me, and then they wanted to make sure that I had to fill out like my paperwork and give them like my ID and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, hey, how old are you? And they had to make sure that I was 18 because I looked like I was 16 at the time.
Right.
So eventually then I'm out through the curtain and I'm there in front of 15,000 people. And it was so weird, like being out there because you're so used to the independents where there's just people around, not up.
Mm-hmm.
So like I didn't really look up a lot. I was so used to and conditioned, and I guess I think I went into autopilot. I don't like remember. I just did it. And then it was a great match. When Zeke laid on me, my whole back cracked, so that was like a nice, really cool thing.
Nice
And then Kozlov came out and he slammed me, and then Zeke picked me up, and I think he forgot how frail and little I was, and he just whipped me down, and my head, you can see my arms like go up like a zombie. Like, I'm out. And the next thing I know, I'm in the locker room, and I was like, oh, cool. And that was that was it. That was my experience. It was awesome. I got to meet a lot of people. So
I think the moral of that story is that dude could have gone on to be like a world champion 10 times over, but you took his gear, and that was it. That was the last time he's ever heard.
That was it.
Quit. He quit afterwards. He's like, "That's it.
I'm done.
That's it.
He's got my gear. I quit."
You know, the malnourished kid took my clothes. I'm done. I can't believe they really asked for that though. Like, you have anybody that looks like they don't eat? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I understand what they're looking for.
I don't know if that was the exact line, but they wanted someone that was.
I'm
It was
sure
close to. It was
right?
close
Yes,
to.
Exactly.
You know,
It was like
hearing Nunzio's voice, I'm sure that's what he said.
Right.
You know, you can just picture it.
Yeah, Nunzio's great. I got to work with him after that. And I always thank him for that opportunity. And I just saw him recently, like a couple of months ago.
Oh, wow. There you go.
We're still close, and he's a great guy. Nuncio's a really good dude.
You know,
So let's talk.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, in talking to some people that have been like to WWE and people that were on the indies and stuff, one of the things they always talk about is like the immense production value of what happens in WWE as compared to like we know what production looks like in smaller companies, but was that like a big eye opener seeing something like that?
I mean, yeah, just like the arena and everything like that is just really cool. But I think I was just so. I don't know. Like in my head the whole time that I think everything just kind of felt. Just felt normal, but I know it wasn't. I don't know. It's like this really strange like thing that my mind did, where it was like I think I just got so scared that it just turned off, and that was it. So. It was great though. I mean, the production. I mean, everything. I did see Vince at one point, but you can't go up and shake Vince's hand.
Right.
But it was great. And like after the match, Zeke apologized for almost caving my head in, gave me a big hug.
Sure.
And he did return to the Indies recently, so I think he's going to be getting a call from me, and maybe we'll have to book the rematch.
Yes.
I like the sound of that.
And
the long-awaited rematch.
No, but listen, here's you got to go out as Y2D Danico.
Yeah, right. You gotta go out
have
and
to do that.
Listen.
I'll play Ralphus.
There you go.
I'll be the Danico personal security.
Yes.
Yeah, I
love that.
He would lose it. Oh man, I could say. Listen, I have never seen a guy that smiles more in my life than like. Every time I see him, like there's just some kind of goofy smile on his face. Like,
right.
It's just who he is. Yeah, he's
the
a
jolly
giant.
fella. Jolly fella.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a bit about your coaching. You do coach with your longtime friend Josh at the Wrestle Factory. Was it a hard transition to go from wrestling to coaching?
Weirdly enough, I feel like I enjoy coaching way more than I do wrestling. There's just something about teaching people and watching them get more confident in their abilities that kind of gives me more joy than having a good match. When I was younger into the business, around like 19 or so, I did have a backyard friend by the name of Kevin Bennett. He's a wrestler up in upstate New York. And he was young at the time, and all of his little group of kids were like big fans of TCW back in the day, right?
Right.
So they kind of messaged me, and they were like, "Hey, would you be able to come up and I don't know, show us the ropes? Because my parents just bought me a ring, and it's in the backyard, and we would love if you would come and show us some things." So I said, sure. And I went up there and I showed him kind of like the ropes and the basics. Like I didn't know psychology or anything like that when I was that early in business, but I knew how, like, what looked good and what didn't as far as like the basics are concerned. So I went up there and kind of taught him that. And I think that kind of planted the seed of like, oh, I really enjoy teaching a lot. And I didn't know at the time, but like afterwards, after I like retired and all that kind of stuff, people would always ask me like, oh, well, would you ever come back to the business? And I was like, the way that I would want to come back is being a trainer. I always just wanted to be a trainer. I wanted to be a coach. I just want to show other people how to wrestle and kind of get them to achieve their dreams. So in a way, I kind of got what I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell now, having seen pro wrestling workout in person, you know, you can tell there's just something about there's something about you. You can see the passion in what you do, especially when you get in the ring and, you know, you work hands-on with your students. Like you are absolutely a hands-on trainer, and to watch you in there with them, there is just this passion that comes from you. You can see it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. I really like to, if someone doesn't understand what they're doing wrong, I try my best to show them exactly what they're doing, right? I try to replicate it. So I go, this is what you look like, and this is what I want you to look like. So I really try to do that, and I feel like a lot of trainers aren't able to replicate that, even if it comes at my detriment. Like maybe I hurt myself a little bit because I'm like, oh, look how wacky you're doing something. But if it's able to help them, then by all means.
So speaking of your coaching style, how do you think your coaching style differs from Coach Josh?
Well, you've heard from several of our students now.
Yes.
I think Crash just said recently that we are the same but completely opposite.
Yes, that's a great way to describe it.
Yes.
Another way to describe us would be mom and dad. Whatever side of, you know, if you grew up and your mom was more strict than your dad, then I'm mom, but opposite too, right? If your dad was more strict, then I'm dad. So I don't want to like say, oh, Josh is the mom. No, it's whatever parent was more strict on you, you're going to equate to us. I'm a negative reinforcement kind of person. I unfortunately get it from my father. But yeah, I'm a person, I will tell you something looks really awful to try and get you to do better. And I feel like Josh is kind of the opposite. Josh will kind of be more lenient on you. He'll kind of push you in a gentler way. So I think it's like, what was that called now? The new thing, gentle parenting versus.
Yes. Gentle parenting.
There's the difference.
Right.
I'm like I'm going to get out the belt soon. And Josh is going to gentle parent you into you know, doing what he wants.
Yeah, Josh is like, this is how you put the belt on your pants. And you're like, this is what I do with it. No.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how I differ.
That's a really good description of you two, because as I mentioned before, I had a conversation with the two of you at one time, and it was like sitting there talking to mom and dad. Like, dad's got one idea, mom's got another idea, and I'm like, well, can't we all just get along? Like,
right.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
But so for you then, in your opinion, what do you personally look for in an up-and-coming talent?
Well, when you guys had Josh on before, he gave you the Ninja Turtles reference.
Yes.
So I agree with that. I full-heartedly back that, and I want a Leonardo. I definitely want someone who's going to listen. And the worst thing for me is back talking. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear an excuse as to why you can't do this or why you don't think you can do this, or I don't want to hear that. I just don't. And like, I definitely don't want someone who thinks they know, right? Like, a couple students will have the issue that they'll come in and you'll like correct them on something. They'll be like, oh, I know. No, you don't. You don't know, because I just had to correct you. Right. So, yeah, you get a lot of that, especially when they're just starting out. And eventually they kind of learn to avoid that or stop doing that, especially around me. So that's good. But sometimes I have to kind of break them in a little bit.
I see. And that's, you know, we could kind of, we've talked about this before. Sean and I, you know, had the opportunity to watch a match with you, and man, that was an experience. I'm sure maybe some of that might make its way into today's top 5, but man,
yes, we're gonna save that for later, though.
I will say though, so standing there having a conversation with you while watching this match, and you're talking about, different things that you see, and you like to think maybe that you're negative about some things, but it was really interesting because you're like, if I would have done that, I wouldn't have done it like that. Here's how I would have done it. Like
Right.
you don't just you don't just say there's a problem. You say there's a problem, but you have a solution, and I think that's I think that's really important, especially in a trainer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things that the students will often praise me on is how nitpicky I am. And I take that with pride. I'm very
Yes.
nitpicky. If your toe is not moving the way I want it to, I'm gonna tell you.
Right.
So like when I watch matches, and everything's subjective, right? So
Right.
I could say a match sucks, and someone else could think it's really good. But usually when I watch a match, if the basics are not being performed correctly or executed correctly, then I can say things like, yeah, that wasn't good, because the basics should be performed just like it's a dance. We all know the dance.
Right.
If you're not dancing right, then something's wrong.
Something's off. Now, me and you had a personal conversation on that same event that same day, and I want to see if maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what you told me, because I had asked you a question. I'd asked you, how do you separate being a fan versus being like a wrestler or a coach? And you looked at me funny and you said a fan. So, can you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Unfortunately, I'm not really a fan of wrestling anymore. I look at it differently. Do I still like wrestling? Yes, but like a fan of it, I think there's different definitions, obviously. But the way I look at it is, a fan is just there to enjoy it, and I am there to critique it. And I can't turn that piece of my brain off anymore. It doesn't matter what product I'm watching. It could be the independents. It could be the top. It's just kind of how I am. It's how I like to break things down on what I would have done, or how I would have done this, or what I think of this, or all that kind of stuff. And I think it is that trainer mindset of me. And it is also, I think, and a lot of wrestlers can probably attest to this too, but like once you start getting into the ring and the magician starts pulling away the veil, and he shows you how to do the tricks, it's hard to look at magic the same way. And I think wrestling is the same way, right? Like I remember when I first started training when I was 16, and I learned how to bump. When I watched wrestling, I was like, oh my God, they're bumping. And I just never noticed it before as a kid.
Right.
They're just falling over. But now you see it. So I can't turn that off now. The fan in me is gone. It's now the critical, nitpicky Danny that remains.
Yeah. All right. So we mentioned it a little earlier, but talking about you as a trainer, we brought up Pro Wrestling Workout. Now, Pro Wrestling Workout is its own complete animal at the Wrestle Factory, and it really is pretty amazing. Like what you do there throughout that whole time. So, talk just a little bit about Pro Wrestling Workout, maybe how that kind of came about, and what you look to do with people there.
Sure. So, Pro Wrestling Workout came around. What year was it? It was 2022. Dave. The guy in Copley, he had a ring, and he had this space, and he kind of kept asking me and Josh if he knew anybody that would be available for open ring. It would cost this much. They can come in, they can work on their matches or whatever. And it was never successful because, and we'll talk about this later, but a lot of wrestlers, they don't want to train. They don't want to. We don't need to train. So I was like, me and Josh were kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, and he likes to say he came up with it. I came up with it. Whatever. But
Mom and Dad arguing again.
Mom and Dad arguing.
I see it differently.
I think it's a really good idea to have just like a kickboxing class and have a pro wrestling class. It's not really done here in the States. I think Josh brought up that there is something similar to it over in Europe or over there across the sea. But not really done here, especially in the Lehigh Valley. You're not going to find a pro wrestling class training thing. So we kind of was like, yeah, it'll be like revolving around like wrestling stuff. We kind of teach you the basics a little bit, just how to fall correctly, maybe how to run the ropes right, just so you're not going to get hurt in there. And I meticulously make sure that everybody is. I try to, everybody's levels are different, right? Somebody
Mhm.
might go in there and they know exactly how to do everything right away. Some people just get it. Some people can't bump for the whole 2 hours that they're there. So I try to like make the exercises be able to cater to both of those people while
Yeah.
both of them are having fun. And honestly, the biggest thing that I like to pride myself on there is the culture there. I want everybody to feel welcomed, and I don't want anybody to feel silly or stupid. I just want everybody to have a good time. And we had our first one in May of 2022. And ever since, it's been great. And luckily, when Quack moved in and the Wrestle Factory took over, he kind of absorbed Pro Wrestling Workout, and now we're able to continue it. And I've met a lot of good people through Pro Wrestling Workout. We have a lot of our students because of Pro Wrestling Workout. I think it's a great way to test if this is for you. And even if you don't want to be a wrestler, I think it's a great way to get in shape, build confidence, and build strength. So.
Now, it was on Thursdays. Is it on Thursdays and Sundays now? Were you guys kind of messing up with the schedule a little bit?
It's on Thursdays. Every Thursday, 7 to 9 in Copley, PA, you can do Pro Wrestling Workout. Your first class is free. I think our prices are an absolute steal for being able to get in the ring and train with us and have a good time and take some wrestling moves and run the ropes and bump. There's not a lot of people out there that can say they've been in a wrestling ring. It seems like it, right? Especially with us, we've been around a lot of wrestlers, so it's like, really, there's not been a lot of people who have been in a ring and say that they can take a bump. So even if you only take the first class, from now on, for the rest of your life, you could be like, oh, I did that once.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, look at me. I threw the world's greatest chokeslam.
Yes, there you go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
I think he went right through the ring. We had to replace
it was
right.
It
The
was
whole
pretty
thing.
bad.
It was destroyed.
Ambulances were called. Hospitals were used, availed. Listen. So, speaking of Pro Wrestling Workout, you guys do a lot of crazy drills there. Do you have a favorite drill that you put people through there? 'Cause there's some pretty crazy stuff.
All of them. No.
Right.
There's two that I really like. One is my own Saw Trap creation called Rotation Station, where each turnbuckle has its own station that it's doing. So one is like high knees. The one in the middle is you run the ropes back and forth and you have to duck, me throwing clotheslines. The third one is a plank. The fourth one is a downward dog. And then the fifth one is a assisted sit-ups. But then once you're done and I say switch, everybody switches to the next exercise. So if you were doing high knees, now you go to the ropes. And if you're doing ropes, now you go, and everybody kind of goes around in this big circle. And once you get to station 5 and you're doing the assisted sit-ups, once I say switch, you get up, you turn around, and then you take something from me. I might give you a clothesline. I might give you a sidewalk slam. All depends on how I feel about you in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
And then my other favorite one is it's called Super Drill. Pretty much you get in the ring, you run the ropes 4 times, and you duck. And then I just have my way with you. That's pretty much what it is. I just beat you up.
I think I've seen both of those.
Right.
If I like you a little bit, I might give you some offense, right? Like,
right.
Oh, maybe you hit a move on me, right? But mostly it's me just doing moves to you. But Super Drill, we always save it to the end because it's usually everybody's favorite, right? It's your time to get in there. You get one-on-one time with the coach. You get to take some moves that are very safe, but cool moves like the Stone Cold Stunner and the pedigree, and like it's all like WWE moves because that's what you're there for. You're there to wrestle, and this is the closest at Pro Wrestling Workout that you'll get to it because Pro Wrestling Workout isn't training; it's just exercises. But this at the end, it's like a little special treat.
Yeah, a little something.
Well, and I can tell you this from seeing it live in person. Pro Wrestling Workout really is for everyone of any skill level, of any athletic level. You make sure that everyone is involved and doing what they can, and it really is great to see that like anybody can come and do this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now we go to one of my favorite parts of the show. Ralph's not so much. Not so much, but let's bring it back to your early years, and let me ask you, what was your earliest memory of pro wrestling?
So I've seen this, question a lot, so I thought about it. So like, I obviously, I watched like Hulk Hogan and stuff growing up, and Macho Man and like Lex Luger and all that kind of stuff. But my memory that I think has stuck with me as a kid, that I think was like the turning point for me, was I remember watching Undertaker versus Undertaker.
Oh, okay.
As a
Yes.
kid, I was like, this, whoa. And I didn't even know who they, like, whoa. It's
Right.
the Undertaker versus the, like, it was like a thing in, like, you'd see in Power Rangers or something.
Right,
Ooh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Evil Ranger versus the, it's like,
Yes.
awesome. And it just, I remember ever since then, boom. And I've watched it ever since. So.
Right.
I can say I specifically remember during that whole Undertaker versus Undertaker time, I thought to myself, man, Leslie Nielsen is such a great detective. Like, he is just doing a bang up job. The silly stuff they did back then, that was really cool though. Undertaker versus Undertaker was really, and that's a pretty good answer, because usually I am the oldest person, and that's not too bad.
No, that's
back there.
Yeah.
That's back there.
Well,
it's better than most.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you talk about Hogan and Macho Man, and I always find it funny when people are talking these days about like, oh, this bloodline and this Roman Reigns storyline.
Right.
This is such a great idea of long-term storytelling.
Yeah, long-term storytelling.
Like, man, where were you guys when the mega powers were exploding? That's long-term storytelling.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Long term, man.
Absolutely.
Long
Yes.
term.
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Yeah.
From birth to grave, that one.
Yeah.
All right. So what were some of the wrestlers that maybe inspired you to kind of get into the world of professional wrestling?
I don't give him enough credit. But I just mentioned him. So Undertaker was like, I was a fan of him for a long time. Probably once the Ministry came around, that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to drift somewhere else. But like Purple and Gray Undertaker, peak.
Yeah.
But I like to think of the 3 J's as my biggest influences. The 3 J's are Jericho, JBL, and Jeff Jarrett.
Nice.
Ooh, wow.
Okay. All right.
So those are my 3 J's. Jericho, biggest influence. That guy, especially when he won the Undisputed Championship.
Yes,
Both the belts,
yes.
like King of the World Jericho was
So good.
So he was a big influence on me. I would say the 3 J's, and I kind of, my style of wrestling is very akin to all 3 of them. So yeah,
very good, very good. So, do you have a favorite match that you had in your career before you retired?
Ooh, that's a good one. Wow. I really like my match with my trainer Bill Daly at Easton the high school. The following year we did another one, and I wrestled Josh on that one. So that one's pretty close to me. And then probably my last match, which was my career versus career match against Kevin Bennett, who was my student that I trained, way back in the day.
Right.
So those are probably that hold the most significance to me. But one that really stands out, that it was me and Kevin Bennett versus Stevie Richards and Nunzio.
Oh, wow.
And
that's incredible.
Yeah, and I just remember it was a tag match in this tag tournament at BWO. It was this random, it wasn't like this big advertised match. And I just remember I was just so on in that match. I remember just saying to myself, like, this is Stevie Richards and Nunzio, and I'm gonna sell my ass off. I'm gonna this match. And I just remember just the adrenaline rush that I had in that match. I don't think I've been able to rival yet. It was just such a surreal experience wrestling both of these guys. And it was a great match. We had a really good time. So really, both of those guys, really good dudes.
Stevie Richards is one of the nicest people I think
I've
ever met.
Seriously.
I worked with a wrestling company years ago, doing some behind the scenes stuff. And so one of our wrestlers, Stevie Richards, was his favorite wrestler of all time. So we brought Stevie in for a couple shows, one to tag with him and then one to wrestle against him. But Stevie would come to the shows, and he would, at intermission, he would just go out and take pictures and sign stuff for people. He'd never charge anybody money for anything. I saw him years later at King of Trios when the BWO was there, and he remembered his time there very fondly. He's like, listen, you tell so, anytime you want me to come back, I'll come back. He's just the nicest guy, really.
He's a really nice guy. He really is. He's a really nice guy. I got the pleasure of spending the locker room with him again at the next show. And I made like a music video of our match. And I remember he walked up to me and he's like, hey, I saw the video. of the, and I was like, you watched the music video I made?
Nice.
Like I was just shocked that he
Blown
did.
away. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
really, really nice dude, and he's huge. Like he's a big dude, and
Right,
really
yes.
nice, really nice guy. So
Awesome. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Royalty Wrestling.
Yes.
So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how we get the medieval theme of the promotion, and why do you think that stands out, among other wrestling companies that are going on right now?
sure, Josh and I mention him a lot. I need to give him more credit though. Remind me. I need to
Right.
bring Josh back for something.
Right.
But anyway,
right.
Josh and I have had this idea. I mean, Josh really, but so Medieval Times is like this really awesome experience. I don't know if you guys have been to it, but
I've been,
like,
yep.
it's it's a different world. You kind of transform a little bit when you're in there, right?
Right.
You're eating these chickens with just your hands
Yes,
and the
yes.
cups, and like it just kind of like you just feel like, wow, I'm in a different space here. And I
Yeah.
feel like wrestling has that same effect on you, if the cards are played right. And I think like Shakara definitely had like that thing, right? Shakara
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is different, rather than just a regular indie show that are all the same. And I think like WWE is the same thing too. Like when you go there and you're doing all the chants and singing with the music, and you're immersed in this thing.
Yes.
So we had a couple different ideas of how to combine Medieval Times with pro wrestling, and this was the final like iteration of it, where instead of leaning way into the medieval thing, we just kind of add a little taps here and there of
Mhm.
Medieval Times, and the goal ultimately with each show is to kind of switch it more and more medieval.
Mhm.
To the point where we want our fans to show up in like Renaissance fair,
Right,
like
right.
outfits and stuff. Like sure, if the whole
Oh, yeah.
audience was just all dressed up, whoever's like, I've been to the Renaissance fair, and I know you guys have too. But like when you go to a Renaissance fair and someone's there in jeans, you're like,
what are you
weird.
doing?
Yeah, you're
Right,
weird.
right.
Get out!
Yeah.
Like this isn't for you.
No.
And I feel like if we
Understand.
could have that same effect on people for this, I feel like that would be really cool. Where the fact that like you go to a wrestling show and you're like, oh, this is just another wrestling show, and all the audience is in these like
Right.
tunics, and all that
Crazy
stuff.
garbs and right.
It just lights like fire. Like everybody wants to be a part of that. And I think like in the world of wrestling, where there's so much similarity with everybody, like between
Mhm.
wrestlers, promotions, belts, whatever, you want to be different. And that's like the main thing in wrestling is be different, right? So how can we be different? Well, we just add a little medieval touch to it, and boom,
Right.
and there it is. So that's I think it's been successful so far. I think audiences have really enjoyed it, and
Absolutely.
hopefully, it continues to be a success.
Speaking of audience, we have to talk about it. Chivalry is Dead that day. It was snowing. It was gross out. It was not good. But we had over 200 people came out for that show, and they were rowdy the entire
Yeah,
time, and they
it
were
was
into it the
not just-
entire time.
It was not just 200 people. It was 200 people that were invested in what they
Yes.
were watching. Like
Yes.
from the very opening, that crowd was hot.
Yeah, that was a weird anomaly. Let me tell you. That snowstorm started happening, and I immediately was like, "That's it. It's over. No one."
Right,
We're
right.
gonna have like 50 people, whatever. and a couple wrestling shows in the area canceled their shows or rescheduled them or whatever.
Sure,
So I think,
sure.
in a weird way, we kind of were able to get them, because if you were planning to go to a wrestling show that night, you might go, "Oh, well, I still want to go.
Right.
What else is in the area?" And I think like some people kind of shifted to our show that was still going on. And yeah, we got these 200 people, and I think, I don't know. I mean, I attribute it to every match being like a main event. I think
Right,
that card
right.
was phenomenal. I think everybody
Oh, it
was on
was.
point that night. The students really, everybody was just exactly where they needed to be, and the fans loved it. So it's great.
And Capture the Flag worked brilliantly.
Such a good match.
Oh,
I
so
loved
good.
it. So good.
Yeah. Yes.
Capture the Flag
We-
is a very unique concept for sure.
It was unique. What was more unique was where me and Ralph were at our table. We had a bird's eye view of the bathroom. So when they all ran into the bathroom and someone was there doing their business, I don't know if
Talk
they were
about-
ready. They were scared of what happened, but they were just in the line of fire as everyone would barge into the bathroom right at that
Talk
moment.
about
I
people
love-
being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
And it kind of added to the spot. Because,
Right.
Like, is it funny that they're all running to the bathroom? Yeah. Is it funnier that there's someone in the bathroom when they all run in?
Who had no idea.
I had no idea what was going on. No idea what was going on.
Oh,
It's great.
man.
Very
Oh,
great.
it was great. And just have to say this, 200 people came out, over 200 people, the weather, all that stuff. Of all those 200 people, not one of them was Big Dan Champion.
No.
No.
Poor guy. I mean, I heard that, on his block of the Lehigh Valley, there was 1,200 feet of snow.
Right. So much so that even someone else couldn't come and pick him up, even though he was offered.
There's so much snow that
Thinking about their safety.
he's still digging out right now while we're recording this.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to see him again.
Wow. The snowstorm that killed Big Dan. Oh, boy.
Right.
Jeez, that's a snowstorm we'll always remember.
But now let's also talk about your home base, the Forest Lodge in Sellersville, PA, the official home of Royalty Wrestling. How did you guys come up with this and you find this venue, and what about it was so special to you?
Well, Excellence Pro Wrestling used to run there, and then COVID killed it. And then we were looking for a place to run the show, and a lot of buildings in the area, they're expensive. Renting out a building it's a lot. And I think Sellersville the Forest Lodge was so desperate for wrestling that they were like, hey, you can have the building for free. We just want wrestling in here. We'll make enough money off of alcohol sales and food sales and all that kind of stuff that it'll make up for that, as long as you bring in people. And we were like, all right, that's what we'll do. That's our job. So, yeah, they gave us the building for free. It's a great venue for wrestling.
Absolutely.
They have a light switch in the back that says wrestling on it. And when you switch it, those are the fog lights that come on.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
It's a wrestling venue.
Awesome.
The stage is really cool. They got the ramp. So we're doing a little WCW kind of gimmick going on. Yeah. And it's just really nice. And, we're lucky that we're getting it for free. So.
I remember seeing Excellence shows there. They used to run a lot of shows the same day as a Chikara show, and then you would see people going from Chikara over to Excellence to see the show, and that was always a fun Saturday. Yeah. And of course the fact that there weren't too many lights in the parking lot, so at night you kind of had to, if you didn't have a flashlight, or you didn't have a cell phone with a flashlight at that time, you had to be on the lookout for bears going to your car after the show was over.
It's my biggest problem with that venue. There are no lights. There's
no lights.
I wish
no lights.
There was like a sign that had lights that says Forest Lodge or whatever.
Right. Oh God!
Just knocked myself over.
Oh no!
I'm so upset.
What's happening?
I'm
so upset that he knocked himself over.
Yeah, so I'm so upset about it. But there's no lights. There's no lights anywhere.
Lord. Yeah, it's that when they say Forest Lodge, they ain't kidding. It's a lodge in the forest.
They're not messing around.
It's a little upsetting, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so Chivalry is Dead has come and gone, and it's time for your next big show coming up in April 5th, again from the Forest Lodge in Sellersville, and we have Masquerade Brawl. Now we've had 2 matches, and did we lose him?
No, I still hear him. His video's black.
Daniel, can you hear me?
Daniel,
Daniel,
there you go. You're back.
Okay.
My phone's dying, so I can't use my microphone anymore. So hopefully that's sound okay.
All right. Okay. So Masquerade Brawl is coming up April 5th. We have 2 matches announced already.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us a little bit about what fans can expect at Masquerade Brawl.
Well, listen, Chivalry is Dead is going to be a hard show to top. So just with everything in there with the capture the flag and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be really hard to top that. But what we can expect with Masquerade Brawl is it's going to be a masquerade, right?
Yes.
It's going to be fun. Everybody's going to be there. If you buy a front row ticket, you get a free masquerade mask.
There you go.
If you bought a general ticket and you want to get a masquerade mask, we'll have those available. All the wrestlers are going to be wearing masquerade masks. So it's our own masquerade ball, as you will, but it's a brawl, pun. And the main event is featuring 4 of our most prominent wrestlers. With Deuce unfortunately being injured. We have our 4 other very prominent students and wrestlers. You got Kendra Kaida, you have Jet Matthews, Damian Malik, and Dirty Love. And I feel like a lot of people like them, and I feel like that's a main event that's going to be very popular with people. It's actually going to be very interesting to see what the crowd or who the crowd wants to win. And then the other match that we have announced is Castle Rolfenstein. He's taken on every big man in the Lehigh Valley, it seems like.
Yep.
He has beaten a 7-foot tall man in 5 minutes. So the next avenue for him is to book him against multiple people at the same time.
Yes.
And who better than an ant colony?
Right. All 4 of them.
I like
All
this
4
match
of
for
them.
several reasons. I like it because, one, they wear masks, so it's like masquerade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Two, Castle Rolfenstein used to be Oleg the Usurper and Shakara, so it's a callback Shakara match.
Right.
And then 3, it's like I said, it's like the next challenge for Castle Rolfenstein. Will he be able to defeat the colony?
Right. Huge challenge. Huge challenge. Now, we had a little bit of some teasers from Coach Josh about Chivalry is Dead. Do you have any announcements that you can share with us about Masquerade Brawl?
Well, let's see. I have heard rumblings of you guys recently had Crash Maverick
Yes.
on the show. Crash Maverick debuted in the main event, did really well. But Main Man Manny is pretty upset that Crash is the reason that he lost, right? Because he took down and hit him. So Main Man Manny wants some revenge, and that sounds like a pretty good match to me. So I can announce right now that Crash Maverick is going to wrestle Main Man Manny.
Hey.
Hey,
Woo.
Tag it. It's an official
Tag it.
Opinion City exclusive.
Official.
There it is.
Boom.
And speaking of Crash Maverick was like a thumbs up away from getting in that 4-way match. Him and her were really in the voting.
Right.
Look at you.
This is the part where you put
Thumbs down.
the rain cloud on me, right? Isn't that what
thumbs
I'm
up.
supposed to
Thumbs
get?
up.
I'm supposed to get some rain cloud emoji or something.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
We don't.
I watched it.
We don't do that stuff around here.
We don't do those
I know
things.
what you're talking about.
We don't condone those things.
No, we absolutely do not. All right. So what, in your mind, what are some goals that you have for 2025, whether they be personal goals or goals for Royalty Wrestling?
Well, definitely Royalty Wrestling. I just want to keep growing it. I'm actually, I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I'm like very happy with the direction it's going. The fact that we got 200 people last time, especially in the snowstorm, kind of shows us. And I've already told all the students and the crew that like we have something special here.
Right.
I think definitely at Chivalry is Dead, the audience realized it. And I just want that to continue. I just want to bring a different product to wrestling instead of seeing the same thing over and over again. And I think it's a great place for our students to wrestle as well. We don't really bring in a lot of outside talent. We do depend on our students, and it gives them a place to wrestle and a place to show off for their friends and family, a place where they can have good matches in front of their friends and family. Because I knew, going into the business, you get booked on a show, you have no idea who your opponent's going to be. You might be getting squashed in 2 minutes, and hey, you might have invited 10 people to that show. And now they just traveled all that way to get you, and you get squashed in 2 minutes. It happens. It's part of the business. But I think this, and they all know this, or at least I hope they do, but our students are spoiled. They are spoiled rotten. None of them should be getting the experience that we're giving them at Royalty. And I hope they're grateful for it, but I am grateful that we have such good students that have this ability that can put on this show that people are absolutely loving. So definitely Royalty Wrestling, just want to keep charging forward. As far as any goals for me, I would like more students. Obviously, I just want to train more people. I'd like more people to come to Pro Wrestling Workout. I think it's a really fun experience, and I'm always excited to see new people. And as far as that's concerned, we'll see where Danny is coaching in a year.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting. Well, you are continuing a rich tradition at the Wrestle Factory of having students that, the Wrestle Factory has always produced students that seem a step above other wrestling schools. Or, when you go and see a show put on by students from the Wrestle Factory, you see a quality that is different than other schools, better than other schools. And so you're definitely continuing that tradition at the Wrestle Factory today. So
Yeah, I think that there's a slight difference, with the Wrestle Factory going into Shikara back in the day. You really had to you had to be chosen, right? You kind of really you were not, if you were 3 months in or 4 months in or 6 months in, you're not getting a match. You probably didn't even have a gimmick at that point. And then by then, who knows what wacky gimmick Mike Quackenbush was going to come up with for you.
Yeah, sure.
So, before you know it, you're a goldfish out of water, and he wants you to sell it. And I don't disagree with him on that. I wouldn't do it personally, but listen, we have a lot of students and people that come to Pro Wrestling Workout, and they tell you their ideas and what their character's like, and it always sucks. It's always terrible. It's some generic ass thing, and some people, you ask them hey, what's your gimmick? And they don't even think of anything. And it makes me kind of it blows my mind a little bit. You're going to start getting hateful Danny soon. But it blows my mind a little bit that so you're telling me, because I know when I was growing up and I was wrestling with my pillows and action figures, and I guess maybe kids today don't, use action figures anymore to wrestle.
Right.
But I know I played video games, and there's video games are still around. You're telling me that you never made a create a character in a video game?
Right.
You never made oh, this is Scyther or something. I don't know. For people that come up to me and have no gimmick whatsoever, no idea. I have a student right now that nothing. Hey, do you have any ideas for a gimmick? Nothing. Well, actually, there's a couple of them, but there's one that has absolutely nothing, and it just blows my mind that it's you're a wrestling fan and you have no ideas.
Well, with that is going to bring us to Sean's favorite part of the episode, which is our final question of the interview.
Yes.
Sean, take it away.
Before we get into the negative Danny, we're going to stick to the positive Danny.
He started coming out a little bit.
We're going to save the negative Danny for the top 5, but for the positive Danny for now, what does pro wrestling mean to you, and what is the significance that it has had on your life?
So I thought about this question. And, all right. So when I was in the Army, after basic training, our drill sergeant made all of us stand up individually, and he would tell us something about ourselves. So it could be a good thing. It could have been a bad thing. He could have been yeah, your attitude sucks. Sit down. And that was it, right? Some people, he was you're a great leader, all that kind of stuff. And when it came to me, he said, Ro, you are the jack of all trades. You are good at everything, great at nothing. And it was the biggest backhanded compliment I've ever gotten in my life.
Right.
And it really stuck to me, and it still sticks with me to this day. And it made me really think about my life. And this is going to make me sound a little egotistical or whatever, but he's kind of right. I feel all the things that I've tried in my life, I feel I've been good at, right? Whether it's been, I don't know, video games or sports or whatever, I've been good, right? Decent, passable. But I've never really been great at anything until wrestling. And I feel wrestling was always that thing that I was able to look at and examine myself and say you know what, I am really good at this. It took me a while to get there, and it took me to retire to finally become the wrestler I am today, the retired one. But it's something that I feel I'm great at, and wrestling has always kind of been there. No matter where I've gone in my path of life, whether it was acting or this or that, wrestling has always kind of helped me. Whether it with acting, right? It's I always acted in the ring. So it's acting kind of goes hand in hand with wrestling. If there was any stunts in the film that I had to do, I was able to do my own stunts or add stunts that they didn't think I would be able to. Yeah, I can do a flip here. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, cool.
Right.
And even in the Army, it helped me because, your drill sergeant he's not actually out to get you. It's a work, brother. It's a work, right? But, you have people in there that don't know that, and they're oh my God, he's so angry at me. He's terrible. And it's a work. They're not actually so. Okay, I'll play my part. I'm the babyface private, and you're the heel drill sergeant. Okay, I know this. Okay, I got it. So wrestling has kind of always kind of been there, and I just feel I kind of was designed to do it. And I feel one of the biggest regrets in my life is giving it up at 22. because I feel that back then small guys weren't really being accepted like they are now. And if you were a small guy, you had to do like flips galore, and that was
Right.
just never my style. So I kind of stopped, and I feel like if I would have just kept with it, who knows where I'd be. But if I would have kept with it, then I wouldn't be the coach I am today. So everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. All right. Great interview. Great getting to learn a little bit about the, madness behind the danger, as it were.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna take us to our main event. Top
Oh, wait.
list.
Before we get to the main event, like I
hang
said,
on,
I have
hang
to
on.
pull Josh back here because there was something
Yes,
in
pull
the
Josh
coaching
back
section.
in. Pull Josh.
Something in the coaching section I didn't get to say about Josh. And Josh put me over a whole bunch on his interview to you guys. And I feel like I didn't put him over enough.
Right.
So
Okay.
I want to say that when I was training at the Lehigh Valley Wrestling Academy at Bud Carson's Pro Wrestling School up there in Allentown, I learned the basics, right? My trainer, Bill Daly, and Buzz Bentley and Mongoose really taught me a lot of the basics. They taught me a lot of the moves and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like I became a good technical worker, right? I was able to do everything technically correctly. But when it comes to psychology, putting matches together, and doing all that kind of stuff, I would say that Josh's greatest student is me. I think I've learned more about wrestling through Josh than anything else.
Wow.
He has molded me, my brain. Now, we don't always agree, as you guys know,
Right.
but he has definitely molded me into the coach I am today, the wrestler I am today, even like the person I am today. Josh has definitely helped me out in my career more times than not. And I feel like I wouldn't be able to be helping the students and teaching the students as well as I do without his insight. Now, that being said, so I just rose them up. Now I'm going to bury him. That being said, sometimes Josh is a great ideas guy, right? So he loves like wacky, crazy ideas. Like if I lose this match, the world's going to end. Like weird stuff.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes I got to reel him back in. And I feel like that's why we're a really good yin and yang for each other. But I definitely wanted to put over the fact that like all of our students and anybody that has the privilege to share the locker room with Josh should definitely listen to him. If he ever wants to sit you down and give you advice or talk to you about something, listen to that guy, because I've learned a lot from him.
Well, that was very nice of you. Nice of you to say about him. All right.
Yes.
Well, now that we've got that lovey-dovey stuff out of the way, let's get back to the anger part of Danny.
Right.
Yeah, I had to get that out. Now it's
Get
all
that
out.
And it's time for our main event top 5 list. And Sean, remind us what top 5 list we're going to have to sit through today.
Positivity is officially thrown out the window
Done.
as we're talking about top 5 things Danny Danger hates about pro wrestling.
The power of negativity.
Yes.
All right. Well,
All right.
I don't know if this is going to go in any order, but I'm going to save. I do have a main event.
Okay.
because
Excellent.
there's like many things I hate about wrestling, and a lot of it can be like shrunken down into one category, which is ego. But we're
Okay.
gonna save that one.
Right.
So we're just going to go on to the first one, and I kind of touched on this a little bit, where it's gimmicks.
Right.
I hate bad gimmicks or generic gimmicks or overplayed gimmicks or just people not being able to be unique. Like I said earlier, wrestling is all about being unique and being different. And I think a lot of people get into wrestling, and this goes into the ego category too, so it's a little tricky. But a lot of people get into wrestling and they're like, yeah, I want to be me. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be a bad guy heel. I'm going to be MJF, or I'm going to be Randy Orton. And, sometimes those people, they get in and they might be 5'6", 200 pounds. And it's like, well, no, you're never going to be MJF. You're never going to be Randy Orton. Sorry. You have to find a gimmick that suits you. It's all about being in your lane, right?
Right.
Everybody in wrestling has a lane. And then you can be in multiple lanes. Some people are, right? Jericho can be in multiple lanes, or like, that kind of stuff. But some people only have one lane, right? And it's okay to abandon other lanes to stick to one.
Right.
So I'm going to use Santino as an example here, right? So Santino Marella, probably a great wrestler, right? I don't know if you've ever seen him when he's not Santino Marella. He's great. He can do all the technical stuff. He's great. He could be a cool heel. He could be the badass heel if he wanted to. But why? If he's able to be Santino Marella, that is the money. That is what's going to make you sell tickets. It's what's going to make
Right.
you sell merchandise. It's going to make people remember you. Everybody else on the card is badass heel number 2. This is Santino Marella. And I like to try to tell this to my students too, because of course, every student that comes in has the dream of, I want to be WWE champion. Blah,
Right,
blah, blah.
right.
Okay. But Santino Marella was never WWE champion, but he is going to be remembered way more than what, 99% of the indie wrestlers that want to be WWE champion. So if you find your lane and you're able to have that gimmick that sells tickets, fans love, wrestlers love, bookers love, all that kind of stuff, that's what you should do. And if that means you have to show your ass a little bit, if that means that you have to be a goldfish out of water, then do it.
Right.
And a lot of our, some of our students are finally realizing that like the lane that they're in is the smart lane. And it's good that we're able to teach them. And I just wish the rest of the independent world would also kind of teach that or establish that, because I don't know how many locker rooms I go in and I can be like, your gimmick is the same as that guy's gimmick, and this guy's the same as that guy's gimmick, and they're all the same. They're all, I'm badass guy number 2. Cool. Get out. We don't need you. There's a million of you. We don't need you. So there's number 5. I'd say is bad gimmicks, generic gimmicks. It also goes the other way too. I don't want to just say badass gimmicks, right? Like, oh, I want to be a badass. There's also people who think that they're in the Santino Marella lane, and they're not. And they need to get out of there. They need to, I'm going to be funny. But you're not. You're not funny either. So, like, you just have to find your lane that you're good at. You have to try things, see what works. If you need to change your gimmick, change your gimmick. A lot of people get married to their name. Like, they get married to their, I've been so-and-so for a year. I can't change now. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Josh has changed his name a legendary 8 times. 8 times throughout his career. 18-year career. He's changed his name 8 times. If he can do it, you can do it. Yeah. So there's rant number 1.
Right.
Anything on that?
I agree with it, but I think you mentioned the badasses, but also I think that also goes for the faces as well. People who are like super baby face that think, I'm gonna be the best good guy ever out there, and that's gonna be me. Like I'm Super Cena myself. Like,
And we've seen that happen twice with The Rock. When he first showed up, he was this baby face being shoved down people's throats, and everyone hated him. He had the Die Rocky Die signs. And it happened again when he came back last year. Like, history repeats itself. It's insane. But yeah, figuring out who you are as a person in that ring, because you're more than just the moves. You're more than figuring out the who you are in that ring is a really important thing. Because if you don't know who you are, how can you expect anyone else to?
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. If you walk through that curtain and that crowd member, you only get one first impression.
Right.
The crowd member goes, well, what is he? Well, you failed. You failed. Get out.
Now there's one example. There's one example of that. There's one example that. I'm talking. There's one example that completely goes against the grain on that one. Seth Rollins walked out looking like a jackass, and I was like, I don't know what he is, and he still looks like a jackass every week. Like, there is Seth Rollins and Naomi and Bianca Belair. They're like competing every week to see who can look more ridiculous. Like, who can look more like a jackass. I say it to my wife all the time.
I've heard him compared to like the modern day Macho Man, right? With his
right.
And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but
it's different.
Oh, it is different. I will give you that.
It is.
I mean, he came out a couple of weeks ago with his flashy space looking jackasses in space outfit. I don't know. I really the outfits that just bothered me. Okay, all right, there you go.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
Whether you hate the outfits or love the outfits, I'd rather he come out with an outfit than no outfit.
Yes,
fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
You make a good point.
That's me. My opinion.
Well, you make a good point.
Opinion City.
All right. Yeah. All right. Hey, you guys snuck that in
number
there.
4, and this kind of goes into what we just talked about, bad gimmicks. So I'm going to get this is a touchy subject. So hobbyists are my other one. What I mean by that is a wrestler that doesn't really want anything to do with wrestling, really. He's just kind of like, sometimes on the weekends, once every 3 months, I wrestle in front of my wife and my 2 brothers, and they think it's cool. Yeah,
Right.
and then I like post pictures online, and I think I'm a cool guy. And then if you ask them, like, oh, well, are you trying to get anywhere? Do you want to get booked other places? Oh, no. I'm just trying to get booked. This is it. This is all I want to do.
Right.
Sorry. To me, in my opinion, that guy hurts wrestling. That guy needs to get out. That guy needs to say, hey, you know what? This isn't for me. I'll enjoy it as a fan, but I don't need to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is not because I don't want this guy to do whatever he wants or have fun or whatever. No.
Right.
There are more wrestlers than there are promotions.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody's
Yeah.
trying to get booked. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to be in front of somebody. Everybody wants footage and all that kind of stuff. So what's happening is that guy who normally probably isn't in good ring shape, right?
Mhm.
Doesn't have a good gimmick,
Mhm.
isn't doing anything really to make the brand better of the company or himself or anything. So
Mhm.
probably not trained either. So he is getting a spot on the show where someone else could have got that spot that, actually wants to do this and actually wants
Yeah.
to continue the repertoire and whatever. And you're taking his spot or you're adding to a spot. Everybody knows the 6-man scramble, right?
Right.
Sucks. No one wants to be a part of it. Hey, bookers out there. No one wants to be a part of a 6-man scramble. It sucks. Please come up with something else. Oh, well, we have to get all these people on the show. Stop serving too many masters, okay? 6 scrambles suck. Get rid of them. Come up with something original. Anyway, so it sucks. So this guy who's not trained, who's probably shitty, is going to be in this match with other people who are trained, who might potentially hurt them, is going to make the match look bad.
Mhm.
It's going to be, it's not going to be good because this hobbyist guy doesn't want to go to training. He doesn't want to make himself better. He doesn't want to get in ring shape. So what is he doing? He's a waste of space. I know that sounds harsh, but that's what he is. Or she, a waste of space. Please leave the locker room. If you don't want to do this, there are thousands, hundreds, millions of wrestlers that want to do this and want to be on this show.
Sure.
Please leave. Then the argument is, oh, well, if they're good enough, then, then they can get on the show and blah, blah, blah. Listen, we all know that, the promoters have their friends and their friends are like, hey, get me on the show. Come on. And they don't know how to say no to their friends. So they'll put them in the 6-way scramble or worse, they'll put them in like a singles or the main event or in a title, angle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now, great. Now we have this guy who looks like shit, acts like shit, talks like shit, has an awful ego, and he's taking up space on the card. Get out.
Right.
Get out.
Right.
There's no room for you in pro wrestling.
All
Yeah.
of the guests that we've talked to so far, the almost 100 now that we've talked to so far, they all, whenever we've asked them the main question, they all kind of said the same thing, that wrestling, like, attaches itself to you. Like, once you're in the business, there's no leaving it. Like, it's so hard to, like, detach yourself from something that's, like, been a part of your life for so long. So to have, like you said, like, a hobbyist that only does it for, like, so-and-so, it's not the same as someone who's, like, who lives, sleeps, eats, and breathes pro wrestling.
Yeah. Well, my advice to people like that would be, if that's all you think of wrestling, find a friend and get a podcast.
Right.
No, yeah, it's simple. Just, go on the internet and talk and everybody will just love you.
Right.
Well, I mean, you can't all be me, but hey, you can't all be Sean either. Sean does a great job too. People love him too. So,
Right.
I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit more passionate about it too because, I started losing a little bit of passion for wrestling. I was like, you know what? I don't really like the grind anymore. I don't like the travel. I don't really want to do it. And I was smart enough to say, okay, if I'm not passionate about this anymore, let me make a spot for someone who is.
Right.
And that's
Sure.
why I retired, right? Could I wrestle once in a while here and there? I could. I could, but why? What am I doing it for? To me, it's like masturbation. That's what they're doing. They're just I don't know what rating we have on here, by the way. But to me,
Right now it's
well,
X. Right now it's
listen,
X. It's out the window.
okay, that's what hobbyists are. The only thing they're really doing is they're getting in the ring and masturbating. They don't care about what the audience thinks. They don't care about having a good match. And sure, are there some of them? Absolutely, right? There's a what is that phrase? There's a exception to every rule. But most of these hobbyists are pieces of shit, and at worst, At worst, they are promoters on shows that put themselves over in the main event and give themselves the title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Anyway.
ridiculous. No,
All right.
I
That's
All
number
right.
4.
All right.
All right.
Whew, man. And that listen, if you're still with us, this might be our last episode. So thanks for the ride. Thanks for
Right.
thanks for being along with us. They said, yeah, have Danny on. It'll be great. He's perfect for that. He's got all kinds of opinions. And nobody told me that they were like, dark web opinions. I don't look.
Right.
Oh, good Lord. It's okay. We'll survive this.
I'm sure he will.
If we're ready for a dark web opinion.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Number 3, Will Ospreay.
Oh no! Will Ospreay specifically? Oh,
I have no issues with Will Ospreay himself. I think he's super talented. I think he's awesome. Right? Will Ospreay, awesome dude. However, I think he didn't do it on purpose, so it's not his fault. But he has hurt the business. And I say this because there are copies of him, right? You have like your Ricochets and you have your other people who do this very gymnastic style wrestling, right? It's not a wrestling style that I really like, but hey, that's okay, right? Everybody has different wrestling styles that they like or don't.
Sure.
Right? Like I don't really like lucha wrestling. Sorry, Quack. I don't really like super technical wrestling like Zack Sabre Jr. I'm more into your big character wrestling.
Yeah.
Your Hogans, your Undertakers. I like the fantasy, right? So it's okay to have your Ricochets and your Will Ospreays and your all that kind of stuff, right? But they're at the top. What happens is, because they're at the top and all of these up and coming people are watching them at the top, they go, oh, that's what they're doing. Well, that's what I'm going to do. And now you have cheap imitations constantly of Will Ospreays and Ricochets and this gymnastics wrestling people. And quite frankly, some of them can't even do it very well or they're going to hurt themselves. And now you have a whole bunch of indie wrestlers that want to go out there and have these AEW kick out of everything matches where you're not at that level yet. And I don't really agree with it at that level either. Like you could bring Ring of Honor into that too. Like they were kind of like the false finish. Like that was the thing to do at Ring of Honor. But that's when it was like kind of fresh and new. And now it's kind of overplayed. I know you guys have seen AEW pay-per-views that go on for way too long with matches that go on way too long because they have 5, 6, 7, 8 false finishes in their match. And they only needed 2. But, I'm not at that level. So, just take my opinion with a grain of salt. But I think that the crowd and the audience would appreciate 2 false finishes or 3 false finishes way more than 8. That's just me.
Well, it also, like you had mentioned, it also kind of, the law of diminishing returns, it sort of also diminishes the finishers. Like if you have this grandiose finisher that you want it to look and feel like it's the end game, and it's just never the end game. Like I always joke. We always joke whenever we watch Raw together. Sami Zayn does a move called the Blue Thunder Bomb. It is his signature move, but he never, not once, has it been used to win a match. His finisher is the Haluva Kick. That's the win. But he always goes for it, and the announcers always say, oh, he's going to win it. He never wins it. He never wins it on the Blue Thunder Bomb, ever.
All right.
I mean, it's stuff like that all the time. And I feel like especially in like AEW, there's no, like when the first false finish happens, no one's biting because everybody knows that they're going to kick out of that. So I feel like the way to be different in AEW, if it was up to me, right, fantasy booking, is start having wrestlers win after the first like big finish,
right?
And you're going to start surprising people. They're like, "Whoa, what?" And now you've reversed their whole psychology of what they think and what they plan, and now you're unpredictable, which is what we want in the first place, right? False finishes are supposed to be unpredictable, but they've become predictable. So now reverse it. That's just
right.
Finishing maneuvers were finishing maneuvers for a reason. Like if you look at the 80s, somebody hits their finisher, nobody's kicking out.
That's it.
Done. And now you've got, people taking Canadian destroyers off the ring apron through a table and they get back up and walk into the ring. Like nothing happened,
Right.
It's ridiculous. It's different when you're at WrestleMania and it's Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels or whatever. Cool.
Yeah.
But you're match 2 on the card and you want to hit 3 finishers and kick out of them? No.
You're on
and the problem, and like I said, the problem is the indies are filled with these people. And the independent wrestlers, this is going to go into the egos thing. It's very, very tricky. But
Gotcha.
it's hard to tell an independent wrestler, especially if there's a bad booker and a bad promoter. But it's hard to tell them, hey, this is match 2. I don't want you to go out there and do all your shit. Because those indie wrestlers are going to be like, screw you, dude. I'm going to go do all my stuff. I'm going to do 4 Canadian Destroyers because I saw Will Ospreay do it last night on Dynamite. And there you go.
Right.
Well, and in the same vein of that, you can look at a guy like Darby Allin. How many guys want to go through a plate glass window because they saw him do it on, you know what I mean? And there are plenty of other people out there that do the same kind of thing and even worse, but he's got a national platform. You know, he's the kind of guy that people are looking up to because he's on TV.
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with what he does half the time, but you're right. He has a platform. It's on TV. At least it's going to be documented somewhere. It's not some mud show in front of 50 people where you're taking light sockets to the eyeballs or something.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Wacky stuff.
See, this is why I like the Queen of Marksbury rules. That's my type of wrestling. Just saying. All right.
All right.
All right.
Number 2.
Number
Number
2.
2. We're getting close.
Woo.
Smart marks.
Smart marks.
Oh, jeez.
Smart marks.
Okay, now hold on. I know you're clutching your pearls over there. But there's lanes, or not lanes. There's categories of smart marks. So I don't want to just put them all in one category.
Right, right.
Sure.
Screw them all, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the smart. I don't mind fans watching a match and critiquing it. I don't mind saying like, oh, they should have done this or that or whatever. Cool. I'm all right with all of that because you never know. Sometimes a smart mark can give you a really good opinion of a match or something that you didn't even see, and you go, oh, because it's good to get that fan perspective.
Right.
The smart marks that I can't stand are the ones who have never stepped foot in a ring, who think they know what it's like to step foot in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they'll be, oh, yeah, look at that botch. Like, oh, it would have been better if he did this because...
Oh, I hate that.
Like, they think they know how
I hate
moves
that
work.
word,
They think
too.
They know how storylines work. They think they know... Like, it's this, like, I'm a wrestler, but I'm not a wrestler. Like, they want to be a wrestler so bad. They want it so bad that they'll just kind of, like, pretend to know what they're talking about. And most of them would take one bump and be done.
Right.
So it's kind of like it drives me nuts on social media when you'll see something happened on Raw or SmackDown or whatever AEW, and you just see these comments, and it's like you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea. Like, oh, they should have done it from here, or oh, that didn't hurt, or what. Like they have no idea. Like a lot of people don't even think it hurts. Like, right. So that was a short one. Just smart marks who think they know what they're talking about, but they don't. Especially when they try to tell wrestlers what, like, if it's like, I don't know, it's like telling a college professor something about their profession.
Right.
Yes.
I also just hate that word too. That word botch. It annoys me because like most, if not every mainstream show is live. It's a live performance of wrestling. You can rehearse as many times as you want. When it's live, you can still mess it up. It's not a botch. It's live performance.
Yeah.
So like if you mess up, I'm not mad at you. You're doing it live. Like, why would you get mad at somebody for doing a live performance and trying their best and maybe messing up one little spot? Like this past Monday on Raw, they had a big hoopla because Jey Uso went to do a dive and he missed and he fell to the floor. And that was
I was more worried that he was going to get hurt because when he caught that rope, he came down and he hit his head pretty good on the apron. Even my wife sitting there was like, "Wow, he just hit his head." Like that was the concern. Not
wrestling fans have gotten a little. Well, I guess they've always been, really, but they're like entitled. It's like, how dare you mess up in front of me?
Right.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
no idea.
All right.
No clue.
And just to be clear, for this number 2, we were talking about Smart Marks, not Gary from Smart Mark Video.
Yes.
Yeah, just want to be clear about that.
Just want to be clear.
We like Gary. Gary's
All
good
right.
people.
Number one.
Man.
But before we do, you know us Wrestle Factory folk, we like to turn it on you guys. So just one thing, though, for both of you. What do you hate about pro wrestling?
I'm going to let Rob goes first that one. It's so hard.
I have 2 things, and they relate to each other, and I think they're aesthetic things, and I think they literally annoy the shit out of me every week. My wife has to listen to me complain about it. Number 1, champions who come to the ring and don't wear their belt. That
okay.
drives me literally
Okay.
up the fucking wall. Okay, I'm so mad I'm cursing now.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
And number 2, champions who only seem to wrestle in non-title matches. Like the phrase that kills me the most in wrestling is, gee, if this person tonight wins, they could be in line for a future title shot. Well, why the fuck would they need a future title shot? They just beat the fucking champion.
Right.
Like, give them the belt. We're done. Like, seriously, my wife listens to me bitch about this every week, and I get really fired up about it. It drives me batshit insane. So there you have it. I gave you 2 that relate.
Thank you. I like it. I like
I
this.
think I already mentioned mine because it kind of it tied in with the smart work, but I just hate like the word bot. I hate when people like critique wrestling when they don't know, like you said, when they don't know what they're doing, they just immediately critique it. Oh, they botched that. Oh, he's the worst. I'm like, no. Like, the biggest example I always go back to is AJ Francis. When he did his big, again, same thing, big dive botch, that was, in fans' eyes, the end of his career. Was that failed dive, and that was it.
Yeah.
They gave him no chance to come back from that. They're like, oh, that's it, he's done. He failed it, that's it. I'm like, but how do you, who are you? Like, what do you know?
They're
Like, what do you mean that's
They're
it? Like,
ruthless.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hate, Daniel Bryan said it best in WWE. Fans are fickle. Wrestling fans are fickle.
Right. Like a lot of wrestling fans don't see like the greatness of Nia
Right.
Jax, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Nia
Oh,
Jax
yeah.
is
Right.
amazing. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Can we do a bonus one only because Ralph
Yes.
mentioned titles?
Yeah, let's go.
A
Yes.
little bonus, a little one.
Okay.
Independent promotions, unless your title has been defended outside of the United States, please do not call your championship a world championship.
Right. Right.
You
right.
are not the world champion of anything. You're the world champion of this company in Sellersville, PA. That's it. Don't, I'm a world champion. No, you're not. No, you're not.
No,
Get
you're
out of
not.
here.
Now listen, you're old enough to remember this, but do you remember when there used to be huge controversies because Pro Wrestling Illustrated would not recognize a company's world champion as a world champion for that reason? So when they would report on it,
Right,
they would call
right.
them, they would call them like the AMCP champion, but they would not call them a world champion.
World
because
champion,
they were
right.
not a literal, they did not defend the belt like that.
Little side piece. They also need to get rid of heavyweight. I'm the world
Heavyweight champion.
There is no heavyweights. Sure,
No.
are there heavyweights? But okay, say I win it. I'm the world heavyweight champion. Clearly, I'm not a heavyweight. So then
Right.
it makes your company look stupid. It makes the wrestler look stupid. They have to say heavyweight, and clearly they're not. It's just world heavyweight needs to go. If it's royalty,
yeah.
right? You're the royalty wrestling champion. Boom. That's it. Done.
Yeah, weight classes have all been but abolished at this point.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. All right. Number one.
Number
I don't
one.
know how long this is going to go, so
Okay, gotcha.
buckle in. Might be short, might be long.
We're strapped in. We're strapped in.
So number one is egos.
Egos.
All right? It's a very broad because there was a lot. I had like 15, and I was like, oh, that's kind of an ego thing. That's kind of an ego thing. But egos. It's my biggest thing I hate about wrestling. It's one of the reasons I quit. It's one of the reasons I never really want to go back because wrestling locker rooms are just awful. And it's mostly because of egos. And egos go, they're at both ends of the spectrum. They go all the way from the backyarder all the way to the promoter, the booker, the champion, whatever, right? Everybody, the trainees, students with egos. Ugh, terrible, right? And the biggest problem I have with egos is that we're all there to do the same thing, right? So like in basic training, the reason you kind of like become brothers is because you're all going through this really like shitty situation together, right? The drill sergeant's yelling at you. He's making you do push-ups. Then you got to run up a wall. You got to do all this stuff. And it sucks. Every day it sucks. And the only people that can acknowledge how much it sucks is the person next to you, right? So you all start to become like a group because you're like, oh, this sucks. We can do this together and we'll support each other in doing this really sucky thing, right? So trying to make it as a wrestler sucks. It's terrible, right?
Right.
The travel, the money that you're not making, the money that you have to spend on gear, just everything, right? It's a really hard thing to do to be a wrestler. Not even try to make it to AEW or WWE or whatever. Just trying to be like I don't know, a mostly well-known indie wrestler, I guess.
Right.
Even like getting
Right.
booked is really hard to do, right? It's just hard. So if we have this really hard thing that everybody's trying to do, why are we such dicks to each other? We're such ass. I mean, coming from me, right? But we're such dicks. We're such assholes to each other. And it's like, why? Like, I don't understand. Like, when you, like, I was trained from a very young age, 16. When you walk into a locker room, if you're walking in, you shake everybody's hand. You
Right.
shake everyone's hand. It doesn't matter if they are a cameraman. It doesn't matter if it's a little kid that you don't know. Shake everybody's hand. You don't know who is who, right? That little kid could be the son of the promoter, and you don't know.
Right.
Now, who knows? The kid could be like, Daddy, they didn't shake my hand. I don't know. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
So, like, it's things like that. And I still go into locker rooms to this day because sometimes I help my students when they go to shows and all that kind of stuff. I'm there to kind of like help and whatever.
Mhm.
And I still go into locker rooms to this day. People will come in, no handshake, no nothing. They don't acknowledge you. They don't say hi to you. Nothing. Just they walk in and they just put their shit down and they just start doing whatever they're doing. Right.
Mhm.
A lot of them.
Right. Right.
Like a lot of them, more than there should. And I went to WWE, right? Rey Mysterio walked in after me. And like I said earlier, Rey Mysterio walked up to me, right? This 18-year-old punk kid, he walked up to me and shook my hand. So if Rey Mysterio, WWE Hall of Famer, can walk up to me and shake my hand, so can you, indie
Right.
wrestler that no one knows.
Right.
So that's one, right? Shaking hands is a big one. It's like a respect thing, right? And it all comes down to ego. Their ego is, I don't have to shake anybody's hand here. I don't care. Whatever. And they just come in and do whatever. With respect too, it comes into like respecting the promoter. It's like people show up late, right? Call time is 2:00. You should be there at like 1:30, 1:00. I mean, hey, if you're there at 1, you could ask the promoter, hey, do you need help with anything? But you should at least be on time. 2:00, not 2:01, 2:05, 2:00. And there is, I wrestle I don't wrestle, but I help out at Pro Wrestling Magic sometimes. And there are some people there that are late consecutively. Show after show after show, they have been late. And unfortunately, some people get walked over that they shouldn't be. And some people should put their foot down, but they don't. I know if that was like Royalty Wrestling's locker room, right, which I'm the booker at, see ya.
Right.
See ya. I mean, and that's it. See ya. Like, I don't care. I don't care that I booked you. I don't care that I advertised you. I don't care about any of that. If you're disrespecting me in my locker room, you're out. Especially if I start hearing that you're like, not shaking people's hands, you're showing up late. Like, it's like these things. And I feel like not enough promoters in the area are willing to do this. I feel like they book these people and they feel like they're obligated to have them in whatever condition they're in. And then, it's whatever. And I don't agree with that. I think you get rid of these people. You got to start weeding out, just like the hobbyists, right? You got to start weeding them out. I don't think there's any room in a professional wrestling locker room for people who have attitudes, who have egos, who think that the wrestling world owes them something, because it doesn't. Pro wrestling owes them nothing. It owes them nothing. I don't care if you've helped with the ring 10 times and you want to sit there with your boo-boo face and say, no, you still haven't put me on the show. Sorry. Maybe don't go to that show anymore. Go to a different show instead of being there with your bad attitude. Ooh, all right. Let's ego. Backyarders. Let's bring up backyarders.
Backyarders.
They're like hobbyists, but worse, right? So backyarders are people that think that they're kind of like hobbyists too. There are people that think that they can like sneak into the wrestling world, and some of them have, right? Unfortunately, but they can sneak in. They have so much ego that they're like, oh, well, I'm good. Look at me. I can do a swanton off the ropes. I'm a dancer. I'm agile. I think I'm really good. I don't need to go to training. I'm just going to start going to shows and, bring my gear, which is usually pants and a shirt. I'm going to bring my gear and I'm going to get on the show. I'm going to try to get on the show. And eventually a promoter might be like, oh, well, I'll put him on the show. Doesn't know if this guy's trained or not. And then he puts this backyarder on the show that's not trained, hasn't been trained, doesn't pay his dues. And that kind of upsets me, because there are people out there that have paid to go to pro wrestling school, that have put in the blood, sweat, and tears to become a better wrestler. And now you're getting a spot on the show that they deserve. That trained wrestler should be on the show, not you, not backyarder number 2 who learned how to take a bump from a YouTube video and thinks that they can get on a show.
Right.
Just shouldn't happen. But they have their ego is too high for them to. Oh, I don't need training. How much is training? 3,000. I ain't doing that. Then hey, well maybe you should wait, save up some money in this wonderful economy that we have,
Right.
and work for it, or maybe try to make a deal with the coaches. I know Quack for example. He's very he'll make a deal with you. It's gonna happen. If you want this hard enough. And if he senses that you want this enough, he'll make a deal with you. It's going to happen. But to just ignore the fact that you should be a trained wrestler and you're going to go into the ring and you're going to have people trust you with their lives, that I'm going to get in there with you and I'm going to expect, okay, well, he's going to dip me for a suplex and he puts me on the wrong side of the suplex and now I'm up. He doesn't know how to fall correctly and now I've landed on my head.
Right.
You've hurt somebody because your ego's too big that you don't think you need to go to training. Do you want to interject at all? I could ramble forever.
No, that was a perfect. I think honestly was a perfect.
I think you're hitting some important points.
Right. That was a really perfect. I think top 5 because obviously me and Ralph didn't know what to expect when he said top 5 things they hate about wrestling, but they're not just random things. They're actual valid reasons.
Yeah.
And good reasons why you hate wrestling.
I mean, there's more. There's more. Well, I could go for a while.
Oh, listen,
that's halfway. That's halfway. That's all right. We could stop there.
We're gonna save that for part 2.
Right.
We'll have to have part two, and it'll be part 2 of it'll be like another 5 things I hate.
Right, I hate about wrestling. You're right.
Yeah. Well, listen. I'll say 2 things about this. Obviously, very very well thought and important points. Especially the respect thing. I think that's a really big thing. Like you said, you're working with somebody, you're putting your lives in their hands, they're putting their lives in your hands. If you can't have the basic respect of someone, why would you even want to work with them if you feel that they can't just, have even basic decency.
Right.
And I will say that your students are extremely respectful. I see it in them. They're very well taught. Cause again, like you said, locker rooms, respect is not a thing anymore, but you can tell who really cares about it and who really doesn't by, who respects, like you said, you have no idea who you're walking in on. You have no idea who that is, and just showing decency and respect. And your students do that very well. In the number of times that I have been around your promotion, around even pro wrestling workout, student shows, things like that, your students are extremely respectful. You can tell that they are well taught in that manner. So just want to throw that out there.
Well, good. Let me know if they're not, because then I'll beat them up.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I would say
the ass whoopings are coming.
If I just want to call out my students here for a second.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
All right. Students, pay attention.
And this comes with time. It happens in life, right? But boo-boo face is a real thing. Are you guys aware of boo-boo face?
Yes.
So boo-boo face, it can happen at work, right? You get a bad call, or you get a bad review, or you get something, and you get kind of boo-boo face. Everybody can kind of tell you're in a bad mood, right? And boo-boo face for a student is really bad because your coaches can kind of tell. So if we've said something, or we've critiqued you, or we've put you in a storyline or something like that you're not a big fan of, instead of being boo-boo face about it, maybe appreciate the spot that you've gotten. Appreciate that you have coaches that are willing to critique you like that, because I've seen other schools where they should be getting critiqued and they're not. Sure, maybe their students don't have boo-boo faces, but they're not having the matches that we are. So that would be my advice for anybody, really. Like if you're told to do something and you're being paid for it and you agree to it, putting boo-boo face on doesn't do anything for anybody. The fans can tell, the wrestlers can tell, the booker can tell, the promoter can tell, everybody can tell if you have boo-boo face on. So if you're in a storyline that you don't like, get rid of that boo-boo face, all right, and be appreciative. And hey, if you're not appreciative, you can get booked elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely. I know about the boo boo face that you said. You can get a boo boo face at work.
Right.
I get them. I get them all the time when
Right.
when I go to lunch and I realize that I brought soup and I forgot the spoon.
Right.
So that's
There you
real
go.
boo boo face, because then I go back from lunch and everybody instantly knows. Oh, dude forgot his spoon again.
Right.
Boo boo face. Like it's boo boo face the rest of the day. Then my
Right.
whole day's ruined. All right. Well, a tremendous, absolutely tremendous top 5.
Right.
We are so excited for when we can continue this discussion in part
Yes.
2 on our next interview.
I
But we
apologize if it was too long.
no,
No, not at all.
great.
Not at all.
I love it. All right, so we are going to take a momentary break while you watch this expertly produced video with intense graphics that are just super impressive. And when we come back, we'll be talking some upcoming events. All right. So make sure you check out last week's episode 95, where we had the aforementioned Crash Maverick
Yes.
joined us. Make sure that you are here on Thursday night as we're watching the Royalty Wrestling Watch Along as we look at Chivalry is Dead. So you'll be able to check that out on demand on our YouTube channel as well.
Yep.
Find out what Deuce thought of the entire show as we get
Yes.
to as we watch along with him.
And
then,
as
yes?
Royal Month marches on, we have another Royalty
Royal
Wrestling
Month, yes.
wrestler in Brother Bedlam, one half of the
The
Gatekeepers.
Gatekeepers.
Yes.
Yeah, we're super excited to have him on. So check all that stuff out on our YouTube channel, and you can catch us live next Sunday.
Yeah.
At the Arlen Specter U.S. Squash Center. I feel
Whoop,
like
whoop.
that's way too fancy of a name for a place for me to show up.
I know.
But we're going to be there. We're going to be enjoying Power Pro Lucha's first show, Regeneration. We'll be talking to some folks there. And then, of course, how could we forget? You can see us April 5th when you get to see the amazing company Royalty Wrestling. Listen, these shows are amazingly fun. You cannot
Yes,
have a better time at
absolutely.
a wrestling show. The wrestling is great. Come out, wear your Masquerade Brawl mask, get involved, enjoy the show. We will be there. Stop by and say hi. Danny will be there. Stop by and say hi to him as well. Tell him
Make
how
sure you
much
shake his
enjoyed
hand.
his top 5. Yes, shake his hand. Yes. All right. So, Danny, sir, is there anything that you would like to promote as far as upcoming things in your life and the life of Royalty Wrestling? What's going on for
Well,
you?
as you expertly said, April 5th is our Masquerade Brawl. It's our 4th show for Royalty Wrestling.
Number 4.
We have a lot of matches to announce. I think Front Row is already halfway sold out. So if you want Front Row, get on it now. And then remember, every Thursday, 7 to 9 in Copley, PA, it's Pro Wrestling Workout. So I'll see you in the ring.
Yeah, you can get all the information on Pro Wrestling Workout over there at the Wrestle Factory website, which we have running along the bottom. We'll also have the link to buy tickets to Masquerade Brawl down in the descriptions. And of course, make sure you're following Danny and the Wrestle Factory and Royalty Wrestling on social media to get all the up-to-date information on what's going on with those great places. I'm about 25 minutes away from Copley and not too far from Sellersville, and it is great having this in the area again, having a training school here, having a great wrestling company that puts on great shows in such a historic building for independent wrestling in the area. So it's just been really great being able to see what you guys have been able to do with Royalty Wrestling. So we appreciate your time. We appreciate you coming on and being a part of this episode, getting a little angry with us. I like that too. So, always good to see. And there is one person who appreciates being angry. There he is. He appreciates your list as well. He was not on it, so he appreciates it.
Right.
All right. Well, that's gonna about do it for us here at the Opinion City podcast for Danny Danger, the man himself, Parmesan, I'm King Ralph, and remember, kindness is free, so be kind to each other. God bless, and we will see you next time.
Next time.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you very much.